commencer avec le vidéo. Enchanté, on se parle un tout petit peu en français, comme c'est ta langue, et après, on va commencer l'interview.
Et bonjour, bonsoir pour ceux qui sont en Afrique, puis c'est presque soir chez vous, et bonjour chez nous, en Amérique.
Enchanté. Okay, this is my dear, dear friend, like a sister to me, Danielle Saint Lot. She is a dynamic woman of Haiti. And I thought this would be a wonderful opportunity for my audience to meet someone that I think has a secret to success in her own way. And so the power of you, a virtual conversation with women around the world, is delighted to welcome Danielle Saint Lot. So Danielle, we're going to start by asking you, just tell us a little bit about yourself. What experiences in your life have shaped you, have made you into the woman that you are today?
First, I'm from Haiti, and you know, Haiti is in the Caribbean. We share an island with the Dominican Republic. I have a daughter. I've been born and raised in Haiti. I studied international relations in Haiti at the university in Haiti, and I have a master in France. I've worked in the public sector at the Ministry of Commerce and Industry for a few years, and also at the Ministry of Affaires étrangères, Foreign Affairs. And after 10 years in the public service, I joined the private sector, working mostly with development projects, USAID projects, and this kind of governance, business development initiative. And 20 years ago, almost, no, I was Minister of Commerce, Industry and Tourism. And also I was before an executive director for the Haiti Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And for the last 22 years, I have really focused on women empowerment, women political and economic empowerment through business. That's it. I'm in Haiti and I live there.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to join the conversation.
Well, we are absolutely fascinated by you already. So tell us why your passion for women's empowerment. Who are some of the women that motivated you? What are some of the circumstances that you think made you care about women's empowerment?
I truly believe in women empowerment to change the world. And I've said, like I said, I am what I am because of women. A few women in my life that have empowered me. My grandmother was, you know, a very progressive person. My mother, which was also a minister, and for her generation, you know, I remember she was in the cabinet, on a 23 members cabinet. She was the only woman in this cabinet. And also at school, I was at the girls' schools where we had 3 directors. And I always said, I can find in terms of my qualities, my strong characteristics, I can find myself in each one of them. You know, and I think these women have impacted my life, empowered me. And what was common to these women, they were highly educated women.
So and that's why I really becomes important.
Exactly. You can be empowering if you don't have nothing to transmit. And when I said educated, not only academic education.
Exactly.
It's all about family education, life skills, and academic background. It's a plus.
Okay, so you're standing on the shoulders. I did not realize that your mother was also a minister. And,
yes,
kind of a pioneer.
Absolutely. And she has been in development for years. She was, in fact, she's 92 right now. Mm-hmm. And she studied adult education.
Oh.
And she started the first literacy program in Haiti. At this time, we were talking about, you know, literacy for poor people. So it's, I think it's like an inheritance from development and public service.
Public service,
Yeah,
I think, is like
absolutely.
you are born into families of public service,
Absolutely.
and it
Absolutely.
becomes a
Absolutely.
natural thing for you to be a public
Exactly.
servant.
It's part of a legacy. And also, my grandfather was a well known senator and ambassador. And in fact, he has worked a lot because he was in exile during the dictatorship. And when he went to exile, he worked with the United Nations
Okay.
and he worked on the constitution of many African countries.
Wow. Wow, that is
Yeah,
fascinating. So we've already
absolutely.
started talking a little bit about Haiti, and I think I am from Liberia, as you know, and we've talked about the parallels. So I mean, can you tell us a little bit about the history of Haiti? Because women that are listening to you have heard things, but they may not know what the essential elements are that have led to where Haiti is today. And
Yes,
it would be
because
enlightening for us to know.
with all these disasters and also political instability, you have a new generation that only knows that about Haiti. It's like Haiti starts after the earthquake because of the visibility, because of the social media. While we have a really rich and impactful history, we were the first Black republic, independent Black republic, because in 2204, no, 1804, we
Mhm.
had a revolution. And this revolution started, the process started before. And women were really involved, were part of this revolution. And what happened when we get all the French out, and to start a new republic? First, our population, our leaders weren't educated. They were slaves.
Right.
They weren't educated about business, about production, because they were workers, they were slaves.
Exactly.
So how to rebuild a country that was a prosperous one when you don't have the skills?
Right.
And also you can imagine with the revolution, everything has been destroyed. And worse, there were an embargo on Haiti because they didn't want us to export our revolution. So all the countries were against us. So we were completely isolated for years. And to be able to be part of the world in a certain way, we had to pay the debt to France.
Yeah. So you were
Yes,
talking about, we grew up
yes,
hearing about Toussaint Louverture. There are even
yes.
kids in Liberia that have that name, Toussaint, because
Oh, okay.
people admired. So,
Yes, he was the precursor, He was the one that, and he had a different way of approaching things. For him, I'm not sure that he wanted a revolution the way we had the revolution. He wanted, to have it progressively, to build it. And I think it was also a big problem. But you can understand also when you're in slavery, the only thing you need to is to get rid of it.
to get freedom.
And it
Yes.
was very difficult to get back on the feet, to have the country, the agriculture back without technology, without education, and without the world open to you. So, and in fact, we stay independent, only Black Republic independent until, I don't know, the 60s.
The 60s,
Yeah.
actually.
I
Yeah.
think it's only Ethiopia and maybe Liberia, I
Liberia.
think.
Liberia is the
Exactly.
oldest independent in Africa, but we
Yes.
recognize the
Yes.
first Black
Yes.
republic in the world
Yes.
was
Yeah.
Haiti. But so you had this period of the revolution, you have the revolts that led to the liberation and the foundation of a first republic of Haiti. Then you have presumably some years of development a little bit.
Instability, always instability. Because
Always.
when you can grow your economy,
Yes.
and after we had so many internal problems that the US invaded us in 1915
Right.
and stay until 1934. And still we can say that we have always been an unstable country. until in the 50s, we had President Duvalier that has his dictatorship for, 2 generations, let's say, his son and him.
So it's
And
Papa
after
Doc, Baby
Papa
Doc.
Doc,
This is how
yes,
we knew them.
absolutely. And when they left, when the Duvalier left, we couldn't get together to really decide to build the country. And I think also it's also all is part of our history. There is no trust among ourselves.
Okay.
And in Haiti, in Creole, there is a saying, says Haitian.
Say it in Creole. We want to hear the Creole.
Okay. Nèg pa vle wè nèg depuis nan Guinée. We said in Haiti, we call ourselves neg.
Neg.
Like nigger, which is really negative in English. But in Creole, you call a man neg.
Neg. Yeah.
And
even in
the
Cuba,
the neg can be a white man.
if it's somebody that is endeared to you.
Yeah.
It's not a curse. It's not a curse.
A neg is a good person. He's a man. So we say neg, ray neg depuis dans Guinée. Like black neg, people, us, doesn't like each other since we came from Guinea.
Period within which we felt like maybe the nation of Haiti was going to emerge successful.
Yes, in the 40s, in 1994, we had a president called President Estime. He was a visionary. He wasn't the most popular. But when he was a visionary, he organized, he invested a lot in infrastructure, and he had also an international exhibit and it was very smart. And only yesterday, I learned that the whole infrastructure was designed in New York by an architect in New York. And he had the pavilion, and he asked each country to build a pavilion. Unfortunately, those infrastructure has been destroyed by the earthquake. Yeah. So there were the pavilion of Venezuela, pavilion of Italy, and it was very interesting because it was an exposition, a fair, but with real infrastructure. It was a huge investment, So unfortunately, there were a coup against him, the militaries, and we lost, I can say, an opportunity. And since we never had a stable 2 or 3 years.
President Estime was the little period of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, well, it's so sad. And then now the recent history, many people now remember the earthquake, and there has even been controversy around how the earthquake was handled. It was a natural disaster, but how the world came to the rescue, but what has happened with the efforts to sort of help?
What I think, nobody was prepared for such a disaster. So our leadership was very weak. And like the US, they came with the army because they had in mind maybe Katrina or whatever, thinking that people were going to violence while people were taking care of their families under the rubbles. So, and by the time we were trying to save our people, they didn't even give us a chance to cry. We had this invasion of people with food, with shelters, with whatever, because a lot of charity, because they wanted to help, and this we can understand. But all this effort wasn't coordinated. So what happened when they came with all those tents, the camp, all those things? Like 500,000 people after the earthquake went back to their communities out of the city. So when they came, the international partners and charities came with all the tents, with all the food. The 500 people came back, each one with 3 or 4
Oh,
family
no.
members.
Oh, wow.
So Haiti, Port-au-Prince is back with 3 million people.
Wow.
And it's a city that was built for 300,000 people.
Wow.
And now we have 3 million people, and a big part is controlled by gangs
Didn't know
coming,
about that.
mismanagement of this money. Most of the money went back to the US. Only 10% was, given to the government. You can't even say that the government was corrupted because they didn't receive money.
What separates the people of Haiti? Is it the poverty versus the wealth, or what is it?
Poverty is a consequence. It's a result. I think we have a lot of barrier. We have a color barrier, like mulattoes and black, because we made the revolution together. But the mulattoes some were more educated than the former slaves. So this also created a lot of issues. And still you have the economy is controlled by the Lebanese, the Arabs that came to Haiti in the 40s.
Wow.
Or before the 40s. So it's one of the countries in the world with the most inequality, social and economic inequality.
Mm-hmm.
We have also a language barrier. Only a few percentage of the population speak French.
Yes. Yeah.
Why we constitutionally, we have 2 official languages, Creole, that everybody, every single Haitian, even in the diaspora, speak 3 generations, they speak Creole. That's our glue, that's our common, But also French, you have, I don't know, maybe 20-25% that are really fluent, let's say fluent in French. So it creates a barrier because it's create kind of a social, gap. People that speak French and some are quite arrogant with their French. So it's created a lot of, and also you have the problem between the urban and rural areas.
Okay.
And now when you have the youth from the rural area to migrate to the capital city at urban level or in other cities, it creates a lot of conflicts. Yes. And that's why you have, as a result, the gangs. There are youth that are not part, let's say, of a society, that are not working, that are, so they
are the schools, is the instruction in the schools in French or in Creole?
Oh, it's a nightmare because it's in both. It's only really now, let's say for the last 10 years, there is a lot of effort to start really in Creole, because most studies shows when you start with the maternal language, you can grow easily in any other language, but you have to start with the maternal language. Mm-hmm. So now English, both are in French and Creole, but our laws are only in French. Yeah. Our justice system works only, all official papers are in French. Right. And university is in French. It's a mixture. It's a mixture of African language, Spanish, Indian from Haiti, the native, French. So it's not French. But I think that we should be trilingual, because with almost 2-3 million Haitians abroad, sending 4 billion remittances, and that speak Creole and English. They don't speak French, except the ones that are in France, that are not a lot. We need to introduce English, so that the people can have an option to learn English
and
or
the
French.
Proximity to the United States.
Exactly. And also not only United States, the whole Caribbean.
The whole Caribbean,
region.
Jamaica.
The whole region.
Yes, that's true. Trinidad, all of these countries.
And also English, it's much easier to learn English than French. French is so difficult. French is so tricky. Okay. On le la.
Le ou la.
Le ou la. Creole is very phonetic, like English.
Yes.
you
Well,
know.
okay. Well, I mean, I've learned a whole lot about the language. I think that tells you a lot about the people.
And it's a lot. The language, it's what it's your identity.
It is. It is.
You know, and that's I think that's why we have a strong culture,
Hmm.
because we are able to keep this language
Hmm.
after 200 years of independence.
Hmm.
And we are the only country that speaks on, everybody speaks Creole in the
Fascinating.
world.
Fascinating. Yes, and I think it's a good thing to hold on to. It's something to be proud of. But in order to engage the rest of the world, you perhaps
Absolutely. You have to be
English.
bilingual,
Yeah, at
bilingual,
the least.
bicultural, be open to the world.
So you, as far as I'm concerned, you are a highly successful and accomplished person. So in engaging women, which is the purpose of this program, is to engage women around the world. We want to help them to understand what characteristics, what things about you are likely to make you succeed in life. And how did you, what was your recipe, if you will? Because when I first met you, I remember the first time I met you was right after the earthquake.
Yes.
And you are a completely different person now. I realized that when I met you, you were highly traumatized. It was a sad, sad, sad.
It was a very difficult moment,
Yes.
and it was very important for me to meeting women like you, and I think it's what make my what you call success.
Mhm.
It's that I've always been in networks, family networks, and networks where women are powerful.
Mhm.
So you don't have to make any effort because you are inspired. You
Yeah.
have models, whether they are an aunt, mother, grandmother, teachers. So it's not like, okay, I've been to a specific school to be trained, no, I've been raised, and I've been growing with women that has been empowered themselves.
Right. So
So
you
it's
attribute your success to your ability to tap
absolutely,
into
absolutely.
networks.
One of my weakness, it's first pride. I always do during the Easter season.
Mhm.
Some people fast,
Yes.
So I always engage myself, commit, not to be judgmental.
Very good. Very
And
good.
I can tell you, it's not easy. It's easier to fast.
It's easier not to eat, right? Than to try to not judge
It's
people.
not judge yourself, not
Not
judge
judge
others.
yourself. That's interesting.
Not it's so difficult. It's
Yes.
so difficult. And I do it for the 40 days for the length,
Brilliant.
and I have to control myself, because you're talking with someone over the phone. You're going to say, "Hey, down." Said, "Oh no, I can say, okay."
You cannot
And
judge.
you cannot judge, and it's difficult. It's so
So
difficult.
you are a mother. And what are some of the values that you have taught your child? What do you consider to be
Oh,
the most
you know,
important things that you can pass on to your daughter?
I think she's the one that is educating me.
I would
She's the
agree.
one, yes, she's definitely the one that is transmitting me some values,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
telling me, no, don't eat my chocolate. I think it's very interesting to realize that when children grow, they impact you, they kind of educate you.
Yes. Mhm.
And while they're doing this, but you realize also the characteristic that they have inherited from you
Yes.
through
Mhm.
education, so it's two ways.
So you're saying that parents should allow their children to teach them in a way.
Oh, in a certain way, they teach you even you do not realize that they
Uh-huh.
do it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You see?
So it's
But
a
you have to be true with yourself and realize that you get this because of.
yeah. Absolutely.
It's yeah.
So what do you envision yourself doing in the future? How can you, what are you preparing yourself to do in, let's say, the next 5 years of your life? What would you like to say at the end of your life? A long,
Oh,
happy
you
life.
know,
What would you like to
my
say
my
I've done?
mother, my as I said, my mother is 92, and recently I was calculating. I realized that in 2054, I will be 96, and we will be celebrating the 250 year of our independence, almost, I think 50 years, yeah,
Yeah.
254.
Mhm,
And I said, I would like to be on a mountain
mhm.
looking at the beautiful sea and said, looking at cruise ship coming, looking at both full of cocoa, full of goods, organic products, flowers exported all over the world, and say, wow, I've been part of this.
Wow.
I have contributed to this wellness,
So you
this
envision
richness,
empowerment coming through growing and trading, growing
growing an
agricultural
economy,
products.
agriculture, tourism, where we can be competitive. But you can only do this through education,
Right.
through education and employment.
Yeah.
And to create employment, you have to educate the youth.
Mhm. Yes.
So
You share an island, Hispaniola, with Dominican Republic,
Dominican Republic.
and they
Oh, oh
are
no, it's not Hispaniola, it's Quisqueya.
Quisqueya. Quisqueya. Okay. What is
No, because
Quisqueya?
the island was called Haiti,
Haiti.
Quisqueya,
Quisqueya.
and Boyo by the Indian,
Okay.
the native.
Mm-hmm.
And with the colonization, the Spanish, they call the island Hispaniola.
Ah, so
So
it
the
made,
Dominican Republic, they call it Hispaniola, but
mm-hmm.
we call it Quisqueya.
Quisqueya. So from the Haitian perspective, you are on the island of Quisqueya.
Quisqueya.
But to be frank, the Dominican Republic has done a lot with tourism. But
Absolutely. They
is it any
receive,
way that you can
wow.
cooperate with them? Is there some kind of communal relationship, or is it more antagonistic?
We had a lot of studies about this, like binational tourism.
Mm-hmm.
But what is interesting for them, the Dominican, they made a smart choice compared to the Bahamas or other countries. Like the Bahamas, they receive 7 million tourists, but they are
Cruise ships, yeah.
cruise ship. While the Dominican Republic, they didn't invest in cruise ship, in
Mm-hmm.
cruise port.
Mm-hmm.
They invest in tourism, people that will spend minimum 8, 10 days.
Okay.
And that's why they have a lot of European coming, people, especially from Germany. People in Europe, they have long vacation.
Yes. So there's
So
more,
they have
the
people,
impact on the
exactly,
economy is bigger.
exactly, because people, they have to eat, and they have developed those all-inclusive resort. We need political stability and we need jobs creation. Because even if we have good leaders, if you can create jobs to employ, because you have all those Asians that has to live on small boat to go to the Bahamas, to Brazil, they're all looking for better life.
Yes. Yes.
We
People
need to
don't
build
want to leave.
infrastructure.
This is what sometimes the world doesn't realize, is that people do not choose to leave their homes. They
No,
leave out
no,
of the necessity to survive
absolutely, for their family, for
for
their
their
family.
families. Yes.
And that's why Asians living abroad are sending for billions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They
You know,
work to send
they
money.
work hard just to send money for their family in Haiti.
Mhm. So I think we've learned many, many good lessons. First of all, we've learned that you are from a beautiful, historic country that, has a huge legacy beyond earthquakes and unstable
Absolutely.
governments. the
But
potential.
we have to build new positive stories. We have to change the narrative, it's true, but we need to create our own now meta narrative. Our generation should leave another, legacy to the new generation.
Obviously, you could have been one of those Haitians that left, come to the United States or go to Europe or wherever and had a good life. What kept you there?
I truly believe that Haiti will be transformed. And most of my family is abroad, like most, all over the world.
Yeah.
But you remember when we visited Rwanda together?
Yes. Yes.
When I was in Rwanda, I think it was in 2012 or 20, I don't remember when. We are the same size with Rwanda.
Okay.
We have the same population.
Mm-hmm.
We are Black like Rwandese.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if we have, they said we have, but we don't exploit any natural resources like Rwanda.
Mm-hmm.
Rwanda is a landlocked country with countries at war or unstable country. Burundi, Congo, it's a very, very unstable region. And they had a genocide.
Yes.
And they are moving forward. You see the progress. So I said, can you imagine? We have same population, and we're there. We are 600 miles from the largest world market, which is the US. All our products can enter the US and Europe without paying any duties.
Wow.
We are in a very vibrant region, the Caribbean. The Caribbean is a vibrant, and it's COVID that is affected right now, but they are very stable, they are very progressive. So we just need to get together. Right. So I said, if we can have this in Rwanda, Haiti can be fixed more easily than Rwanda.
Yes.
We need visionary leaders.
We need Danielle Saint Lot.
we need friends. We need true friends of Haiti also, because also the international impact on Haiti is also a big issue, a big problem. Yeah. We had the United Stability Mission for the 14 years, and billions were spent. And also with all those international NGOs also, we need really to find leaders like President Kagame that can really build teams, create this vision, this 2044 vision, and stick to it and get rid of the corruption.
To wrap up, Danielle, is there anything really important about you, your contributions, your view of the world that we didn't cover?
One of my dream, and I think we should work on it. I think Haiti should be part of the African Union because we are Africa. We are the only real African country outside Africa. I remember first time I went to Africa, I went to Mozambique. I was invited to a conference. And when I came back, I was with my grand aunt. She was 90 something. And when she learned that I was coming from Africa, she told me, "You didn't bring me some earth?"
Oh.
I said, "Why should I? I've been to Africa and you didn't bring some earth for me?" Oh. And it was like a dream, to have the soil, And this is one of my dreams, and I think we should work on it. And the woman should help us work on this.
Yes.
Because I was reading also, and we have a common friend in Nonge, you remember?
Yes, in Nonge from Zambia.
Exactly. And she was having a whole tour of, different countries where they have agreement that they sign. They have accountability, you know, an accountability system.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Haiti needs that.
Yes.
Our reference could be Latin America,
Right.
can't be America.
Right.
You have to be, and as I said, I believe in network.
Well,
And
you're
I think the
talking
best
about
network
something
for us to
that
be
was,
is,
I think it would be labeled as Pan-Africanism, more or less.
yes.
And I think
It's
that is
for me,
absolutely,
it's more than no, it's to be part of the AU,
yes. Wow.
to be considered like an African country, not as
That
an
is,
observer.
that
I
is,
real a full member.
that's a fascinating
Because
idea.
no, because we are in a virtual world now.
It's absolutely,
And I can tell you, there is Haitian that are most Haitian or more African than many African.
that's true. Some Africans are totally Europeanized and Westernized, and they don't observe the African culture. Right
Yeah.
now, I'm cooking African food in my house, which is why I'm coughing because of the pepper. But Danielle, it is
Yes.
just so fascinating. I've known you all these years, but I appreciate the time to sit down and get to know more about you and your country and what matters to you. I think your vision is absolutely incredible. And I think that's a powerful statement that you made. It might have some controversy, but I think it's powerful for Haiti to actually become a part of the AU. I think there is
Yeah.
some merit to your argument.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We work hard for this. It's a legacy, you know,
Yeah, of course.
that we need to. And as I said, with this virtual world now, there
Mhm.
is no boundaries.
Yes,
We have we eat yam the same way.
that's
We
true.
laugh the same way. We
That's
are, and
yeah.
we know we call ourselves neg.
Neg, neg.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yes.
No.
So that's
Yeah.
fascinating. Any final thoughts? Anything at all?
It has been a pleasure, a real pleasure to be part to have this conversation with you. And I really like what you're doing because it's the best way to empower other women. It's about experience sharing. It's about telling our stories, knowing each other also. And I will follow all your programs and share them also. If you can
Please do.
subtitle them in French or Creole, it will be
Yes,
great.
there are software that makes it easier and easier to subtitle.
Exactly,
So
exactly,
we don't language
exactly.
doesn't have to be a barrier
A
anymore.
barrier. Because
Yes.
we need to tell about our stories, so to build, to have our own meta narrative, you know, not to let people tell about ourselves. You know,
Wonderful.
we Black women, we African women,
Yes, we African women must
we
tell
African
our own
women.
stories.
I'm not an African descent. I'm an African woman.
I love it. I love it. You are.
I
I
am, I
agree.
am,
I
I
agree.
am, I
I
am,
agree.
I am.